It's great to have you here. I see someone says hopefully a cruise is the next destination. I am all with you for that. Right now, it's so hot and humid that I would love to be on a cruise ship, poolside, maybe go to a fun little beach for one of our stops. But man, Alaska cruise, that's even better, actually.
That
But
sounds really refreshing right now. Like I need that Alaska air on
I
my
do. I
skin
need
right
the
now.
cool air.
Yeah.
We are in, I don't know if well, I see that quite a few of you are from the Midwest. We are in corn sweat season. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's wild. We can have a whole session on that. That's more of a happy hour topic, I think. But let's get things going. I'm going to go through a few housekeeping items. Keep the chat going, though. We love having this be interactive. I've got Stephanie on. I have the amazing Eric on as well from our team. So keep it going. But as you're doing that, I'm going to just run through a few things before we dive on in. And that is, we are talking all about the five-star client experience from day one. And I'm thinking, what can we do here that would be really fun for you guys to see, especially if you are new advisors? And that is the proposal and itinerary portion. How do you put together the actual proposal, the quote? What does that workflow look like? And then how do we send it to our clients in the itinerary form? We've got mobile apps. What's the right way? What's the best way? We're going to kind of try and cover a little bit of everything. And so this is the part where I think the magic really happens. We saw with Morgan how we can go through Travefy's CRM walkthrough. She handed out some really great task lists in there. So check out our YouTube recording. We'll have all the links to the handouts in there. We'll also give some handouts today, but I always really love talking about our proposals and itineraries, and you'll see why here soon. But for the agenda, I realized this is the wrong part in our slide, so don't mind me as I just zoom through a few things. I think this is the right part. There, that feels a little bit better. Whew. Okay, Stephanie, in the future, cut that whole part out in the beginning. Just kidding. But we are recording this. We are doing live Q&A. We want you to join the Facebook group as well, if you would be so kind. It's called Travefy Official Group. I believe Stephanie has the link so she can put that in there later. But we have a lot of great conversation going on. If you are newer to the industry, maybe this is a completely new career change that you've done in the past few months or even a year or two, it's always a great place to find your community. Ask questions, ask, what suppliers are really great for this destination? Or what would you guys do if you have this type of client? There are so many veterans in that community that they are always hopping on, they're giving their expertise. There's just something special about the travel industry. So take advantage of it. We've got a great group in there. But we can't talk about New Agent Bootcamp, of course, without talking about the new travel agent program. And so this is one of Travefy's newer programs that we have released, which just pretty much gives you Travefy at a pretty discounted rate for your first year. It's going to give you all of the features that we're talking about today, but it's also providing you a custom domain as well as a custom email. So if you have heard anything from the first 3 sessions yesterday, it's all about brand awareness. It's all about establishing yourself professionally, and that can really help you do that. So think of those links that you would send to your client, whether it's an invoice, a proposal, itinerary, your website. You're always going to want those links branded to you. And so Travefy can help you do that. Now, before we get into everything, always start your free trial. It's 10 days. You can always ask us if you need to extend it for whatever reason, but I think this is probably the best way to really understand Travefy. You can, of course, hop on as many webinars as you want. We would love to have you for each one, but there's a certain level of learning that you'll get from actually getting in there yourself, clicking around and moving things around. And so check it all out. Next session coming up, though, will be with Stephanie and I, and we'll have a new client champion joining us. So you only get Eric for this 1 hour. But we're going to talk about marketing your business at 3 p.m., how to build your brand. We already talked a little bit about establishing your brand with custom domains. We're going to continue that conversation. And I asked this in our 5 o'clock session, who all loves marketing? And I had a very split reaction. There were some of you who said yes, and there were some of you that said absolutely not. It scares me. It's this big monster that I know I have to tackle. We're going to cover all of that in the last session of New Agent Bootcamp. So hope to see you there. But all right, here's the correct agenda, everybody. We are going to go through all of that proposal itinerary portion of your workflow. So we'll see how we can put together that proposal, how we can use supplier integrations to make this really easy. I also love to talk about this feature called Decisions, which allows you to put together options for your clients in a really cohesive way that your clients can see it side by side and select which one they want. We'll talk about the itinerary, flight updates, mobile apps, you name it. We'll talk about resources, and then as always, we'll have some time for Q&A. So put your questions in that Q&A panel. Sometimes that's easiest if the chat is really busy. That way we don't miss anything, but use the chat to your liking. I know there are some experts who have been in this industry for a while that are hanging out in there. You guys have been great. We love seeing this partnership with everybody. But all right, I always like to do this, but what is Travefy? What are you talking about when you are talking about the platform? And so I hinted to this, but we really try and make tools that can help you with every part of your workflow. And in the beginning session of today, we talked all about CRM. How do you get clients in the door using forms? How do you organize that information? What does a credit card authorization look like? Invoices, commission, how does that all work together? We have tools for every part of the way. And what we are focusing on in this session is the itinerary and proposal portion. So typically towards the end of your client workflow where you've had that intake call, you have a good idea of what they're wanting to go with, and now it's time to put those options into something that they can look at as the traveler. And so, before we get into everything, I always have to shout out our amazing support team. You'll see Eric is right there. We were joined by Murphy the beginning of the day, but we offer free trainings. We will do one-on-ones with you, but we also have a lot of on-demand resources, which I think are probably the most helpful if you are a new advisor, because let me know in the chat. Here's our first, maybe second, third question already for you guys. Let me know if you have a full-time job on top of this, or if you have another job on top of being an advisor. Because if that is the case, I recommend our on-demand material. Ooh, someone says I'm a teacher, I'm a full-time nurse. Yes, yes, yes. I know so many teachers who are going into the travel advising area. So that's awesome. Working for an airline, perfect. You guys are all extremely busy with those full-time jobs. Maybe this is a side hustle for you. And if so, our on-demand resources, you can play those whenever. If you want to go through our certification programs, which are free, by the way, you can always do that on your time when it works for you. I'm not saying go to sleep with one of our tutorial videos playing. You're welcome to, but it really is going to be flexible for you then. But all right. Oh, there's so many great jobs in here. Photographer, I could just get lost in here. Wendy does 3 businesses, so if you think you're busy, someone's always going to be busier. That's crazy. But all right, let's show how you can make your life easy when it comes to at least focusing on your travel advising and putting together quotes for your clients. And so when you are in Travefy, you first log in. This is always the page that you're going to see. This is your trips page. It's where we're going to be working for a lot of today. And when you're ready to create that quote, again, think of everything you've done up until now. You've had that intake form, you have your marketing, you're getting leads, you've talked with one of your leads. Okay, I have a vision of what they want to go with. Now it's time to put it into motion. And so what we are going to do is I'm going to select new trip, which is up at our top left. And from here, I'm going to select the proposal option. And I'm going to say this a few times. There's only a few big differences between the proposal and itinerary. For the most part, just to keep things simple for right now, your proposal is only going to allow your client to approve it. They aren't going to get an app option. They aren't going to get a PDF option. And this is to help protect your work a little bit better. There are always going to be clients out there who are amazing, but you also might run into a client during your career who might ghost you. And we never want them to be able to take your work and go and book things themselves, or even worse, book things with another advisor using your work. And so proposals are just going to limit the ways that they can take your content. Whereas itineraries, once they've signed off, or if you feel really comfortable with that client, it's going to give them those other options. I'll go ahead, I'm going to keep moving, but we'll revisit that when we get a little bit closer to that workflow area. But I'm going to go right into our proposal. And what this does is it opens up what we like to call a trip dashboard, or you can think of this as your suitcase for this trip. You can pack every resource that you need for this trip so you can find it a lot easier later on. This is really helpful if you're starting to work with more clients. And as your clients continue to stack up, it can get a little overwhelming if you aren't really organized. And so this is going to help you out once you get started. But first things first, let's call this trip something. And I'm going to just be really simple. I'm going to call this New Agent Bootcamp 2025 vacation option. And next part is labels. And you might have seen this label button when we were going through that CRM walkthrough with Morgan, but labels is how you can organize and group things together in Travefy. And so what I always like to recommend to someone who is maybe getting used to labels for the first time is putting in the type of trip that this is. So if your niche was cruises, if your niche is all-inclusives, weddings, etc., that's a really good label to start off with. And so for me today, we're actually going to do an all-inclusive. I'm going to select my all-inclusive option right there. So that way, if I just want to see all of my all-inclusive trips, anything with this label attached will show up for me. So I don't have to go scrolling to find the right one. Another label option I always like to recommend is putting in the year. This is really nice if you just want to look back at all of your trips you've ever done for a certain year. But all right, we've entitled this, we added some labels. Let's get into actually adding content together. And so what we are going to do is now clicking that blue edit button. We're ready to edit this proposal. And when I click edit, it takes us into our trip builder. This is where we are building that schedule out. And as you can see, there's a lot to look at. We have buttons on the side, we have buttons on this side, buttons on the top. The place that I always recommend going to start out with, as you're kind of getting used to everything, is actually within your settings. And you can get to your settings up at the top left. And once I do so, this is where you can change that proposal name if you would like. You can put in your dates, price, and description. Focus on these four areas because it's pretty easy at this point to know what you should put in. Now, you don't have to fill out every little piece, but I think it's always a really nice starting point to lay that foundation. And so for me, let's go ahead. I am going to say, we'll keep the title as is. I'm going to go all the way to February though. February 2026, when the weather is nice and cool, I'm going to select February 5th for myself right here. And the next thing I'm going to do is put in a little date, or not date quite yet, a little price range. You could put a whole price in, but if it's a quote, you might not have the exact one and you don't want to go back on that conversation with that client and say, well, when I sent this to you, it was $6,000, but now that you've waited for 2 weeks, the price has changed completely. I always like to put a starting at point. You can type it in and I can say, starting at $4,500. You can do per person total. It's really up to you. If you want, you don't even have to put a price in, but just know that field is there. The next thing I'm going to do is we're going to put in a little bit of description. So what I like to do is I'm going to just copy and paste this so you don't have to see me type all of it up. I'm going to paste this in and I'm going to explain what I like to throw in and what I've seen other advisors also put in here as well. One, summarize the trip a little bit. Tell them what they're going to be expecting when they go through this itinerary or proposal. Get them excited, get them really in the mood to get excited about this trip. The other thing, I always love to personalize it. Always try and put in a little bit of a thank you note that just personalizes the whole experience, making sure it's personalized versus transactional. We're trying to put our stamp on things. Now, you'll also notice this little last sentence. There is a chat feature that's enabled. You can always disable that if you want. If we have any questions on that, I'll go back to it. But it's always helpful to say, hey, if you need to get a hold of me, here is how you can do it. It doesn't have to be the chat in the proposal. You can put your phone number in if you want to open it up to that. You can put it in your email. Of course, they'll have that. But just saying, hey, if there are questions, here's how I prefer you to get a hold of me. Now, let's go ahead. I'm going to save our changes. We put in some nice setting information. The next thing I always like to do is put in a different cover photo. So I'm selecting change cover photo. If you can see my mouse waving around really crazy, we're going to click change cover photo. And in this area, we have 4 different ways of doing this. We can either use our database, which are going to bring up royalty-free photos. So if you are doing Disney, for instance, this is a safe place to look up Disney photos and know that you can use them. Otherwise, you can always upload your own images. I always love this, especially if you've been to that destination, if you've been to that resort and you have your own photos, absolutely use them to your liking. Otherwise, these last two methods, website method, this is where if a supplier has really great photos and you want to use those photos, you can copy that URL, paste the URL in, and we'll see if we can get any photos for you to choose from and select. Otherwise, I think this is a method that a lot of us are familiar with. It's pretty standard, but you can always copy and paste images in. Now, for me, I'm really focused on how do we save the most amount of time. I know most of you in here do some type of other job on top of being a travel advisor, whether you are maybe a mom on top of this, if you're a dad, if you are doing a nurse practitioner, everything under the sun. We want to save time doing this part. And so what we'll do is use that database. And you guys, I'm going to take you to, I think, where did I say? Did I say Cancun? We'll put in Cancun as our search word, hit search, and we can see all of these really great photos. And we have to think to ourselves, what is the vibe that we're going for? Do we want to put in some really bright beach photos? Do I want to put in animals? Is my client an animal lover and they really want to see that? Usually that's great for safaris. Stephanie was actually just on a safari. So seeing a lion picture if your client's going on a safari, excellent choice. For me, this is a little bit of a hint. I like to always scroll down to the very bottom just because the photos are a little bit more filtered. And so from here, I'm going to grab a really bright ocean picture, select edit, and now I can just expand that open, get a little bit of the palm tree, but I really just want to get the beach photo. Save changes, save edits, and done. Now you might be thinking, okay, what the heck is that we just are seeing in this cover photo? For us as the advisor, we're focused on saving time, right? And so what our clients will see is actually a very polished version of this itinerary or proposal. And to do that, all we have to do is select preview up at the top right, if you can see where I'm waving my mouse around again. And you can see that cover photo that we went ahead and expanded. We can also see the prices, the titles, that description. That description always appears at the very beginning, so it's a great place, again, personalize it from the very start. But I always say preview every once in a while just to make sure that everything's formatting the way that you like. If everything looks good, you can click out of it and we can continue editing along. Now, I'm going to scroll on down here, February 5th, that's a Thursday. Let's add some information in. What we'll do first is select new event. And from here, we have a drop-down list of all these different categories of events that we can choose to build into this day. And the first thing that I have on my list for us is adding in the resort. Of course, we're doing an all-inclusive. We should probably have the all-inclusive in here. And so I'm selecting new event, and we go down to lodging. We are hooked up to a global hotel database, excuse me. And so there's usually a good chance that you can find the property in here. And so easy enough, we just type the property name in, which for us is Atelier Playa Mujeres. And if I zoom in so you can see that a bit better, we have some different options that we can choose from. I always recommend having this Travefy option clicked on. Make sure it's just turned green. This is what's hooked up to that hotel database. This is going to just bring over a bit more written information. A lot of times there's also photos that come over. If it's something really niche like a Vrbo or an Airbnb, it's an address more so than an actual hotel or resort. Go ahead, you can scroll down and you can find web results that are coming right from Google. So just a little bit on what those symbols mean. I'm going to grab our top result though, select it. We can see a bit of what's going to come over for that photo. Let's put in our checkout date, which for these guys, I'm going to have us check out on the 9th. We could put check-in, check-out times if we want, but let's just continue on. Let's add this to the itinerary. Because again, this is a quote. I'm just giving them general information. I don't need to spend a lot of time putting in the specific details just yet. But as you can see, we have facility information that's come over. These are what we call place attachments, those little rectangle items down there. This is something your client can interact with. They can click right on into it. Let me zoom out so you can see it too. And they'll actually have 61 more photos that they'll be able to go through. And of course, when they click on it, it's going to actually expand. It's not going to be that super tiny image that you're seeing. But we also have just pretty much maps that they can interact with, contact information, as well as amenity information on the side that you can see right here. However, I always like to take this moment to say whatever you are bringing over from a supplier, from a database, you can customize to your liking. So this is a symbol that you're going to see throughout Travefy, and that is a pencil icon. You can see it right here. So if you ever want to remove that image, if you want to add in additional information, remove information, you absolutely can do that. You just find your pencil icon, then select Done Editing to save. Same thing for that hotel. Pencil icon, scroll down, and we can add in additional details. Times, confirmation numbers, what your room type is. These are all pretty much filled out though once your clients actually approve that proposal and they've let you know that they want to book this specific item. When I talk to most users, they are just bringing in, again, that general information. I just need to get a good idea of if this is even the resort they want to go with. But again, here's what everything is looking like. Let's preview it. We added in a bit of information. If we scroll down, we can get there. Your clients also have the option to expand days open on the left-hand side. So if it's a pretty packed itinerary, if you're doing an FIT, if you're doing a really big cruise, this is always really helpful to know that they can expand it open and they don't have to scroll, scroll, scroll. But hey, look at those photos. They come over really nicely. You aren't having to spend time copying, pasting, downloading, uploading. It's all right here for you. And hey, I promised, look, the images come over really nice and clearly and big, so it's not super tiny when your clients are just seeing it this way. Now, also just to mention as I move around a little bit, they can access this on really whatever device that they want and it formats to that device. So whether they're on a really tiny Android iPhone, whatever it is, or a big iPad, a tablet, their desktop, it's going to be presented in a way that looks professional and reflects your brand really nicely. But all right, just to summarize, because we've gone through quite a bit already, we went through settings, added in information, we changed the cover photo, we selected new event and added a lodging in. This is that all-inclusive that we're going to be trying to promote to our clients. Some more information I'm going to throw in is a city guide. Now, you might have heard us talk about this if you joined our 5 o'clock session. This is free destination content that is available to you. And this is so, so handy if you are not an expert in every destination, which I have yet to meet someone who is. So if you are unfamiliar with the destination or if you're just wanting to save time providing information to your clients about where they're going, city guides are a really great asset to have. One, because they are made by local tourism boards and it's constantly updated and revised and looked at. So what I like to do is we'll go over to the right-hand side, select your city guides, and you just type in the name. For myself, we'll type in Cancun, and I'll zoom in so you can see this a little bit better. But we have two options because we have two city guide companies that we work with. You're free to look them up if you want to. Arrival Guides and Trip Report. We've worked with Arrival Guides the longest, but Trip Report has some excellent content as well. I'm going to just go with Arrival Guides just because I'm the most familiar with them. And what I like to do is I like to pull over specific sections that I think would be helpful for that client to make a decision. And so I like to usually pull over a little bit about the city. So I'll just drag and drop it in into whatever part of the day that I want. So for me, I put it at the top of the day. They're looking at Cancun. They have some nice photos. It gives them a little bit of information. If you are working with a client who maybe isn't staying at an all-inclusive, maybe it's something like Do and See. Here are some really great tourist options that you can look at. It's going to provide links for them as well. Now, let's go ahead. I'm going to add in one more in case you missed how I added in that last section. I'm going to add in tourist information into our information and documents. Your information and documents, you can add as many of these sections as you want. The key thing is that they're never associated with a date. So if that makes sense for whatever you're trying to build or add in, just know you can add in as many of these sections as you need to. And if anyone has questions or wants to see that, let me know. We should have time at the end. But I'm going to bring this tourist information over. I'm just dragging and dropping it into the section that I want. And there it is. It's going to give that passport and visa information, taxi, post office. You can always, again, remove whatever you don't want. You can add in whatever you do want. It really is just to give you a nice starting point in making sure you can save time putting these proposals together and having that really quick turnaround time for your travelers. Now, something else that we're going to do that I always like to point out, you might have caught on a little bit back there, but Travefy loves drag and drop capabilities. Whether you're dragging and dropping city guides in, you can also drag and drop your information sections to the end. And this is what I typically recommend just because, you know, when you're first thinking about that traveler who's opening up their proposal for the first time, they may not want to see passport visa information. They may not want to see, you know, a list of all these documents. Instead, I always pull those to the end. They can still get to them really easily, but they're first presented about the city, then they get to see the resort that they could be staying at, and it's building the excitement. However, we're still including that necessary information. But all right, there's a few other things we're going to add in before we get into some more features called decisions. But the next thing I'm going to do with you guys is actually build in an item of our own. So how do we go about that? What I'm going to do is we're going to go stay in our information and documents right here. I'm going to click new information item. And this is what you can do for really any event. So if you're working with someone who isn't integrated with Travefy, you can create manual items yourself. We have some different options to cover that, but we'll get there soon enough. Let's just build something together though. I'm gonna call this I'm gonna copy and paste since I have it here. That way you don't have to see me type all of this up. I'm gonna put in some travel insurance information. This is something that you might be having to do for all of your trips. So what I'm doing is I'm just copy and pasting information right from these guys. And I'm thinking to myself, as an advisor who's just getting started, I always want my travelers to have the option to purchase travel insurance. I always want them to know the travel insurance options through me first. And so if I can reuse this again and again, I'm going to save this to my library. And your library, that again is your personal database of resources that you can use over and over. And so for me, I'm thinking, okay, I can use this for every traveler. I am saving this to my library. If that is you, go ahead, find your three dots towards the bottom. We can save this to our library. And here's where labels show up again. This is how we are going to get familiar with it. I'm going to type in travel insurance. It happens to be a label of mine already, but that way I can find this really easily future. So save it to our library. Easy as that. I can use it again in the future. But now I want to show you how does that work if I'm pulling things over from my library. We can type in that label. I know it's under travel insurance. And you can see I have that item we just made together. I also have these pre-made ones. I'm going to click view. You can see I already got ahead of myself. We have the one trip prime, but we can also pull in my other options. So I'm just going to do that really quick. We're going to provide some different options for our clients to choose from for travel insurance and click out of there and we're all good. But again, your library is really helpful as you continue growing your business. You're always going to continue to reuse certain types of information, whether it's here's what you can expect. I think that was from our teak session that they gave advice on. Have certain documents always ready for your client, what you should expect. Here's what you should have before you go on your trip, a packing list, great items to already have in your library. You can find a lot of this stuff in Marketplace as well. But all right, this is what I'm going to leave it at for right now. And I'm going to go back out to our trips dashboard because I'm pretty much ready. Maybe this client that I'm working with and I have just been talking, they are pretty dead set on this resort, which perfect, that works out really well for me. However, I still want to provide them some options on a few things like travel insurance. If that is you, if you are providing something where your client can choose from a list of things, pay attention. We are going to create a decision. What we'll do is select Add New. We're back on that trip dashboard, by the way. We'll select Add New. And from here, I'm selecting that decision option at the bottom. It has some sparkles next to it, so you won't miss it. Select decision. And this is how we are providing those options side by side for that client to select. Now, if you are offering multiple proposal options, you can do it that way. So if you're doing an all-inclusive, a cruise sailing, and an FIT, you don't know which one your client wants to go with, put it into a decision. If you're offering something like travel insurance, but you pretty much know what they want to do, go ahead, create an event decision. Proposal, event. It's really what your client's going after. And for us, I'm going to provide them those options for travel insurance. And so we'll select that proposal. I'm going to scroll down to our travel insurance options, and I'm just selecting those three. We only do up to three, mainly because with the research we found, anything more than three gets overwhelming. And then you get hit with decision fatigue. And then the client never ends up actually choosing something. It's a whole thing. Look into it. Just, it's always good knowledge to have in the back of your head. Think about all the questions you're asking as well. Whole nother conversation. Let's get back on track. We're creating a decision together. We'll create it. And now I'm going to select edit. We're on that decision. We can see it within our trip dashboard. I'm selecting that blue edit button now. and you can see a list of our three different travel insurances. Now, unfortunately, the one trip prime that we made together, I skipped putting a photo in, but if you have photos in here, it'll line up just like this. If there are multiple photos on there, it actually does an automatic carousel of photos, which is always really fun too. Think of all of the things that you could offer if you're doing cruises. Does anyone do cruises? Let's see. I'm gonna wait for the chat to explode here. Yes, 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 yes. Yep. See, I think cruises is just that really nice way to get into travel. Amazing. So if you do cruises, one that I see all the time is, you know what? I have client A. I know exactly what sailing they want to go on. They've let me know. What I need to know though is what cabin they want to go with. Go ahead, put in your three cabin options, and that's going to allow them to select which one they want to go with. And of course, your email that notification as well. But again, think about okay, what are all the things that I need to know from that client? I need to know travel insurance. I need to know maybe that cabin that they're going with. If you don't do cruises, you can do something like this with the travel insurance or what suite that you want to do with an all inclusive. But this is a really nice tool to present these things side by side versus sending three separate emails and then being, hey, I'm going to send a fourth email asking you again what you want to do. So, just my little spiel on decisions. It does make your life easier, and of course, it makes it look really nice for your clients. Another tip that I have for you is adding in a summary. Put in a little note here. Again, we're thinking about how do we personalize this experience. If you are my travel advisor and you put a note in maybe the basic insurance, I've never purchased travel insurance before, I don't know which to go with, but you left me a note saying, hey, knowing your trip, knowing how long it's going to be, what you've all included in it, I would probably promote that you go with the basic insurance or you go with the prime or the premier insurance. This is a place where you could also maybe have that upsell opportunity. Going back to that cruise option, if you're doing side by side cabin options, saying, hey, I threw in another option. I know it's a little bit out of your budget that we discussed. I think it's really nice to just take a look at. I've got a good promotion going on. We can get it at a decent price. Just something to take a look at. No worries though if you go with one of those other two options. So we're always thinking about that upsell, right? So add in that summary. Basic thing here, add in those personal notes. Next thing, we'll hit continue. We'll continue to send. You can add forms in here. So if you need your client to fill out that credit card authorization, if they need to upload their passport, if you need any additional information from them, include it in a form. So I'm going to type in the name of a client here. We'll send this to a Cynthia Smith. You can CC yourself. You can create a custom message. I'm going to grab a sending proposal one. You can see that right there before we send it off. I'm going to go back to this trip though. And now we're back in that trip dashboard. We made that proposal. Again, the proposal's really nice if I know pretty much what they want to go with. And that decision's nice if I'm not sure what option within that proposal they don't or do want to go with. So I know there's a lot of terminology being flung around. I'll go back and clarify since I know that can be a little bit confusing if you're seeing this for the first time. But I'm going to just say this is also super nice if you want to see, has it been opened? Yes, it has been. Just within that time, Cynthia Smith has already opened it. You can also resend the emails from here as well. And does anyone do groups? I know I'm just flooding the chats here. So if you were asking a question, sorry, Stephanie and Eric, if you lost it. Okay, Irene, Monica, Michelle, see, you guys are really interested in groups. That's where the money is at. I know it's a lot of effort at the beginning, but if you're doing groups, here's my tip. And I absolutely love this. I can't take credit for it. An advisor taught me about this. What she does is she sends a decision to those clients, everyone on that trip, everyone on that group, and they can each individually give their response. And so if you're saying, hey, I'm going to let you guys vote on which destination you want to go with. I put it into a decision. I sent it to all of you. Go ahead, select which one that you would want to go with the most, and I'll let you know what the results are by the end of the week. You'll be able to see everyone's individual responses, and that can be a fun way to really involve everyone in the process. So if you're doing groups, that's always a little bit of a good one just to throw in there. You can send it to multiple people. They all have their individual responses. But all right, we're going to go with some more hypotheticals. Let's say Cynthia decided what she wants to go with. Amazing. She has decided on the premier travel insurance for this trip. What happens is you will be emailed a notification saying, hey, Cynthia or whoever your client's name is decided on this. She'll get a confirmation as well, so everyone has the correct paperwork. And now it's time to get going on this now itinerary. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my settings. And by the way, don't feel like you need to memorize every single thing that I am doing. But at the end of this, I hope that you know that there are certain things that are possible when you're working within Travefy. By all means, I am not going to be quizzing you. I'm not going to email you all after this saying, hey, what was the answer to question 10? But just know you can always switch proposal to itinerary. And now when I preview it, we have the app and PDF option because if you remember those differences, proposals, it's a little bit more locked down versus an itinerary, which gives them that app and PDF option. There's more ways to view it now that they've actually signed off on the dotted line. So that's a little bit of those differences. But when we go back to click edit, everything is the exact same. Nothing's going to change up whether it's a proposal or itinerary within here. The format stays the same so you can continue working as you're used to. Don't feel like you have to learn proposals, have to learn itineraries. The format is all the same. And so we're just going to add a few more things in, and we're also going to remove some insurance options. Now, this is more of a pro tip, but if you're working with a lot of information in your proposal or itinerary, you can collapse this information so it's easier to edit. And what I mean by that is, look at this. We have a lot of information just in this section. If I select this collapse mode, boom, it just condenses everything down. This is nice if you want to move things to the top, if you want to move things around, if you want to select the options that you need to delete out, you can multi-select, and we can just delete those out of there. Yep, we'll confirm that we want those deleted. And now we have exactly what I want in here, and it didn't take too long to do that. So collapse mode is what a lot of the pro users of Travefy like to work with the most. So we removed out the insurance options that they didn't choose. And now what I'm going to do is let's add some flights in. Flights are always that fun aspect of the trip. I was telling our 5 o'clock group that, I'm an anxious traveler and this is a safe space. So if you work with anxious travelers, I apologize for them because I know that we're a lot. We have a lot of questions. We just want to get to the resort. We want to get to the destination. So the big thing about flights is making sure they get on their flight, that if any changes happen, you are in the know and can make any changes for them, that your clients are in the know if there are any changes. And the way to make sure that they feel a little bit more at ease is adding their flights in here. You don't have to be the one who books it. If you do, that's great. You can do this too. But we want to select new event. Again, we get our drop-down list of all these different kinds, and let's add in their flights. And it's pretty easy. All you need is the date, airline, and flight number. Otherwise, we have a few other options, including the booking confirmation. This is where you forward the emails from the airline to this address, and it populates it in here. Otherwise, we also have the GDS method. So I think I had an Australian friend in here where it's 4 a.m. I know you love GDS over there. GDS is right here for you. But I'm going to go back to our flight number. I think this is the easiest for me to show you guys. And what we'll do together is put in Delta, put in our airline, and we'll put in our flight number. This one's going to be 1964. Get info, Atlanta to Cancun for Thursday, February 5th. Looks good. We are adding that in. If you had additional legs, you can continue adding in the flight numbers as well. But all right, we have our flights in here. Now it orders it chronologically, so if I had times for the check-in, if I had any times for the city, it would order it correctly. For me though, let's just go back into that collapse mode. See, collapse mode's so handy. And we'll just move those flights to the very tippy top. And there we go. Now, the big thing for why I say pull your flights in is because we're tracking those updates. So if you can see my mouse hovering over this nice green check mark, we're receiving updates for this flight. If there are gate changes, if there are, delays, if there is a cancellation, this is all updating within the itinerary, and we'll also let you and your clients know. We'll do the real-time updates 24 hours within that window of departure. We won't bug you, 3 months out saying, hey, there's a departure delay on this flight already. We'll still update it for you. We just won't bug you with notifications because if you know anything about flights, flights can change so much within just even a month. So little bit of a fact about that. You're always welcome to reach out to us if you want to know a bit more on how those updates work. But a lot of times, and this is coming from my personal experience too, I'll have the app, I'll get flight notifications from Trip Plans, which is Travefy's app for your travelers, and I'll get it way before an airline for whatever reason. So, just again, ways to soothe those anxious travelers' thoughts and anxieties. But all right, let's add in flights one more time. We're just going to do it again in case you missed the first one. New event, hit your flight option, put in your airline. We're doing Delta once more. Put in our flight number. This is going to be 609. Get info. Make sure that looks correct. Cancun back to Atlanta. Looks good. Add it on in to your itinerary. But all right, we only have a few things left that we're going to do. Actually, one more thing left that we're going to add in before we preview it and talk about sending and sharing options. And that is 2025's biggest buzzword. Can anyone guess what 2025's biggest buzzword is? And I'm kind of interested to see if you guys guess the correct one that I'm thinking of. Oh, Angela, you have it. She says AI. Yes, AI is tariffs. Yeah, they're probably neck and neck, I will say. But AI happens to be a huge buzzword, and especially in the technology space, we are always needing to constantly stay on top of trends. And AI has been a really helpful tool, especially for advisors where things are changing constantly and you need time in your day. And so we have a really cool feature called Smart Import, which is Travefy's AI. And what this does, it allows you to actually upload information and we'll build it within your Travefy itinerary or proposal. And the way I like to think of this is think of those maybe niche little DMCs that you're working with or that niche tour operator that no one knows about except you. This is where, if you need to create content from them, you can always upload it right within here. So maybe you got that PDF from that really cool tour operator that just doesn't happen to be integrated with Travefy at this point. You can take their brochure, take their PDF, upload it. I'm going to actually grab a transportation item, upload it right within here, select import, and Travefy's AI is scanning the information, looking at it, and going to ask if you would like to build it a certain way. And so what I did, as you can see, I just uploaded a document with some transportation information. It's going to take a look at those dates, which dates look correct, but if you need to change anything, you can. Just find your pencil icon. Pencil icon means you can edit it further. We can click that drop down arrow. We can see the information that is in here. Plus, if there are any images that are included on that document that you were given by that supplier, we can always grab the images as well. So we'll select the images, assign images, and everything looks good. So I'm going to select done right here. But all right, it's going to ask for feedback. Let us know how it did. But if we scroll down, we can see that transportation item. We can also see it right within here. Now again, these two items don't have times, so collapse mode it is. I'm just going to move it right there, but this can handle whole itineraries, by the way. So if you happen to be working with a tour operator that has every little thing in there, they just aren't integrated, try uploading it through Smart Import. See how it builds it out in Travefy. It can help you save so much time. And the biggest reason why I say that versus sending that supplier itinerary or brochure to your client is always going back to branding. Your clients are going to associate these professional proposals and itineraries to your brand. We don't have any really of Travefy on there. This is all in your control. Versus a supplier, they might not always put your logo or it might be an additional cost. As long as you continue to put it into Travefy, they're now going to say, yeah, this is Bonnie's itinerary. I'm super excited to go through it. They can share it with their friends and family, of course. But that is just my take on everything there. And so use features like Smart Import. We have so many supplier integrations. You can also reach out to us and say, hey, here are my top 5 suppliers I have been working with. Are they integrated and how so? We have a lot of great ones. ALGV is always a big one. We have Expedia Tap, just to name the big 2. There's so many more besides them in there. But this is what it's looking like so far. They can, again, expand those days open. They can see where they want to go. If I want to go right to, oh gosh, information and documents, it drops me right in there. I can click into those links. It's interactive for me. Even though that this is all virtual, maybe I'm working with you and I'm a million states away from you or a whole country away from you, it can feel like I'm really a part of this process. And it's pretty memorable for me versus saying, okay, I want to work with a travel advisor. Here's what I want to do. Okay, now I have 5 different documents I have to sign off on. you are providing a really luxury experience. And so just keep that in mind with whatever you're sending to your clients. And speaking of luxury experiences, how are we sending this to them? We're back in our trip dashboard, by the way, not trip dashboard, our builder. So we have three different ways. We'll end on this. How do we do it? You can either generate a PDF. This has been something I've been seeing more advisors do. Actually, if you're working with a client who is pretty maybe in your town or you can mail to them, they have been printing PDFs off and making brochures of their own, which is kind of fun to see print come back. But also, if you're trying to save the trees and not use any paper, just don't do expanded. You can find more on what that is just by clicking into there. But PDF is always an option. When you hit send, you can also get the itinerary link. This is a great way if you want to promote this at all on your socials. You could put it on Facebook, you could put it onto your link tree, you can put it on your website. You can also grab the app link though. This is a nice way that's going to direct your clients on how to download the app and how to view your itinerary in the app. That app is called Trip Plans, and we're going to get to that soon, but the last one is always email. My personal tip is if you are questioning which method to go with, I usually recommend doing email just because we can actually track when they open it and how many times they view the itinerary. If they choose to download the mobile app from that invite, we'll also let you know that too. So it's just a nice way to have a bit better insight. So if you were to ask me, I would prefer to do the email. But let's talk about Trip Plans before we close things out. Trip Plans is the app for your traveler. You'll notice Travefy's name is not in this app. And that is because it is for your travelers. We are not interested in marketing to them. We aren't interested in putting our brand to them. We want you to be front and center. And so if you want to take credit for this app saying, hey, I have an app made just for you, by all means do it. We shared the story at our 5 o'clock session. If you can't tell, you should join our evening sessions. We have a lot of fun. But you should join because we went through how this is a really good selling point saying, hey, I have an app just for you. I've made this process super easy up until, even to your travel time. The mobile app is such a great way to be able to say, hey, here's what my advisor sent me. I can see all of my notifications. I can chat really easily back and forth with my travel advisor as well as anyone else on the trip. It's a nice way to show it off. And Morgan didn't share this in her video session, but she was actually someone who had new clients come to her because clients of hers who were on a honeymoon in Europe showed their other travelers in their group their app. And she got those people to come and be clients of hers because their travel advisor didn't provide an app. And so we always, again, have to stay on top of the trends, and an app is a really big way to stand out. So if you want to see what all of this looks like, we will put this link in the chat. I like how I say we when I'm really just saying, Stephanie, Eric, can you put this in the chat? This is a landing page that you can either put into your proposal, into your itinerary. You can put it in an email to your clients. You can have this linked really wherever you want, but it's going to direct them on how to use it. If you want to try downloading it yourself, you can as well. Just know the app that advisors that you guys want to download is called Travefy Pro. Travefy Pro for you will have our name in it. For your clients, we are not interested in them. We'll leave them to you guys. It is called Trip Plans for your travelers. Travefy Pro is going to look pretty much the same. It's just going to give you a bit more insight onto things like trip views. If you're doing those task lists and to-do items, you'll be able to check things off the list and get notified about anything. But this is a really nice way to, again, get those clients excited about traveling. There might be a pretty big gap between when you get things booked and when they actually travel. Keep this at the forefront of their mind. Get them excited, whether it's setting up an automation app chat to say, hey, your trip's in about a month. Here is what I would recommend purchasing a month out. Making sure you have sunscreen. Here's a link to my Amazon storefront. That's a really fun little tip right there. But these are all ways that you can make sure that you are just staying in front of that client. You're staying in front of that conversation. And so just to summarize, because I know we always go through a lot in these 1 hour sessions, we put together a whole proposal together. We pulled in that global hotel database resort. We pulled in flights. We used AI today to pull in transportation items. We also saw how in decisions, we can actually provide different options for those clients to choose and select from. And we saw the different ways that we can share this itinerary out once they've decided, whether it's that PDF, whether it's just the online link, which is perfectly fine, or even just emailing them the mobile app link. Those are all really great ways to make sure that you're staying flexible for your client and your client can meet you where you are as well. And so I'm going to go back in here. I don't know if I have any more slides left. I guess we always have to talk about pricing. So, annual subscription, that gets you everything right here. It's at $39 a month billed annually. And so that gets you all of those proposal tools, all of the itinerary tools, the CRM, the websites, workflows, automations, you name it, email integration, all of the recent releases. All of that's included because we really do believe that you need all of these tools to be able to be successful and grow in your career. Now, I know we have a lot of friends who are newer advisors. If you are 12 months and younger in this career, what I recommend is going to our new travel agent program page, taking a look, seeing everything that's included in there. Again, this is the best deal that we've ever seen come from Travefy. It's $25 a month, custom domain, custom email, everything that we talked about today and more. So see where we can really meet and work with you. But join us for the next session. That's all about marketing, everyone's favorite topic. So we'll have a lot of fun in there too. Now, I left us with about 7, 8 minutes left for questions. Stephanie, Eric, how are we doing?
Oh, there's so much. I'm already going to say it now. I am so sorry that if we did not get to all of them, but just remember that we have our support team. If you live chat us or email us at professional@travefy.com, we can get you. I also shared a lot, but I just want to reiterate too. Bonnie mentioned this, but a one-on-one highly recommend, because I know like what you went through, Bonnie. It's so many great things, and like things like decisions and proposals that can stir up a lot of questions, because you might focus on just resorts or cruises and you want to see like how would you do it. So I kept recommending it. I couldn't recommend it more. Do a one-on-one, because that'll really help. So we can hear what you specifically want to do. We can show you how. But I got some questions. I'll do rapid fire here, Bonnie, for you. First one,
Perfect.
first one, this should be pretty quick and easy. Is trip plans free for travelers?
Yes, it is free for them to go ahead and download, and it's available in the iPhone App Store as well as the Google one. Oh gosh, Play Store, I think is what it's called.
Google
Yes,
Play Store, App Store. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
available for free. They are not going to be charged. If they see anything that says they need to pay money, let us
Please.
know. Not like I would say 100% of the time they just downloaded the wrong app. We will never ask your clients to pay us.
Exactly, yeah. Play Store. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, you can tell it's getting towards the end of our 2 days that we're like, wait, what?
We're
What is
like,
that
what's
word?
an app store?
What is that word? Another question here though. So this is also Scott who asked this, but I had to bring it to the forefront here. Is Viator a partner? And Bonnie, I will spoiler alert, yes, we do integrate, but even better, can you tell us like how that works?
Oh my gosh, you guys. So
Buckle in.
I'm just gonna go right back in here. I'm a visual person. I like to see everything. So yes, we do have a great integration with Viator. If you are not familiar with that name, they are a tour operator. They bring in great tours from pretty much every destination. They work with people who are local there. Uh, See, I need like a Viator commission link. But speaking of commission links, this is how you can set it up. You want to go to your name at the top right, go to your account settings, and from here in your linked accounts, you're going to find some very unique special suppliers. ALGV is one of them. Turn that on, fill out their data sharing agreement. You'll also see Project Expedition, a great company as well. These two are similar in their integrations, where if you connect your accounts with them, what happens is whenever you bring over a tour from either of these companies, your commission booking link comes over as well. And that allows your client to say, hey, you know what? I do want to add something on. I didn't think I'd have enough time today. Looks like this shore excursion would be really fun to do. I'm going to go ahead, click that booking link, fill it out, get tickets so I can go have some fun on the beach. Great. You are making commission because that is brought over. And of course, they bring over a lot of great details on what's included, excluded. So, again, supplier integrations, we love them. And suppliers really want to make sure that you're able to sell successfully under your brand. So, that's why we have so many in here, quite honestly.
There's so much. It's so awesome. I have to say though, Rachel said, it's amazing. I've gotten bookings from embedding those links or like from having those booking links.
Amazing.
It's just money sitting on the table. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah,
almost kind of
upsell
is.
opportunities again, everyone.
Yeah, it's so awesome. It's so cool. Okay, so continuing on the rapid fire, you could probably stay on, you'll have to go into a little another part of Travefy, but
Okay.
someone had asked earlier, what if a few of the travelers are on different flights? So you could obviously add, all the different flights, but how do you like keep that organized? Because you just would have a lot of flight
Ooh.
events and not know who's part of what.
Yes. And so this can go into another conversation on group management. So if you have an itinerary where there's a lot of different things going on, that maybe half of the people are doing this, half of the people are doing that, maybe it's an excursion that some are opting in, some are opting out. I recommend doing what we call tagging. And so let me get out of this view really quick. And we're going to go to the one that we were creating together. And let's go in here because let's say that, oh, do I have a good example? I'm just going to throw this one in. If you ever want to tag something, let's think, okay, for whatever reason, only one of my clients is staying here. I only want one specific person to see this. You would go into that event. We're going to go into people right down here. I only want specific people to see this. Select only specific people, and you can start to type in the name of your traveler as long as they're in your contacts already, which they usually are at this point. Type in the traveler you want to see that. So now, let's say that I also have another traveler who I'm just going to tag to this event. I'm going to go specific people. Once more, I only want a specific person to see this. I'm going to type in Jane Doe. Click done editing. Let's pretend everyone that these are flights that I'm talking about, two different flights. When I preview this, I can decide, what view do I want to see? I want to see what Cynthia is going to see when she accesses her itinerary. We can see this here. Okay, yep, look at that hotel. Do you notice though we don't have that city guide though? Well, hey, what if I look at this as Jane Doe? Jane Doe suddenly has that city guide in front of her, but she doesn't have that hotel. What I'm getting at is tagging is really nice if they're pretty much doing all the same things aside from a few different items, whether it maybe is an activity, whether it's those different flights, but you still want them to all be together on the same trip. That's really nice if it's a family, if there are friends, if they know each other. If it's something where it's a pretty large group, not many people know each other that well, and there's quite a few differences, we have whole different methods for that. But I'll let you guys get curious about that. We have some resources on it.
Curious. Well, Eric
But
shared the video. He shared a video. So thank
oh,
you, Eric.
see,
Because I was thinking that I was like, oh, we have videos on this. And then Eric got it in there. So
see, this
that
is
is
why
really
we have to
helpful.
get Eric on for every session. If
Yes.
you have a training with Eric, you know the joys of it. So
Uh-huh.
Eric's like,
Yeah.
uh-huh, my calendar's full.
All those one-on-ones that we're talking about, they're just going straight to Eric. No.
Just sending them all to him.
All the good stuff. No, that is awesome. Well, I will have you since you're in this, and then I know it's right on the time, but one last final question, because I feel like we never talk about this enough. Like I forget about it. Is can you point out? Someone asked, can you point out Travefy AI again? But that's our smart import. So where do you find that again?
Yes, super easy. New event, smart import, right there at the top. This is where you can either copy and paste information. What most people find to be the most helpful is you'll just upload the document that you received, have Travefy scan through everything, build it out for you. Of course, you're able to customize it how you want, but super, super nice if you are working with a supplier who just is not integrated. We do have a great How I Travefy video from Sonia on this if you want to see how she does it and how she actually makes smart import work really well when she does destinations like Japan. So highly recommend that. But no, this is all good. I know all the time there are new things to learn, so we didn't even cover most of there's so many tips in here, like discussion. This is where your chat lives. If you want to create more events, if you want to save whole itineraries to your library as a template, those are all things that you can do in Travefy. But when you're just getting started, let us know. We're always happy to give you guidance. If you have questions on how do I pull in that lodging again, chat us, email us, set up a training, find some of our on-demand material. We will walk you through it. We want to make sure you know how to use the platform. But I do think it's pretty, once you actually get in here, it's pretty straightforward. We try and make things as user-friendly as possible so it doesn't have to feel like you need to set up a meeting with us. But again, we're always here to help. But I think I already talked about what the next session is. I'm going to stop sharing my
Yeah.
screen. But thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Eric, for spending some time with
Yay.
us. We will see you here in about an hour. We'll have a new client champion on. Ooh, who will it be?
The
But
next
all
one.
right, everyone. See you guys soon. Thank
See
you so
ya.
much.